Welcome to our world. Won't you come on in? Waiting just for you. Welcome to our world.
Okay.
So, explain what you're starting with.
So, you had said...
I said it's a wonderful idea.
It's a wonderful idea. And I said, it's a wonderful... You made me think of It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
I said, have you ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life? And you said... I'm pointing to you, and you said...
line.
And you're on.
I said... it's been on the background, but I've never sat down and watched the movie from start to finish. To which
you really should, and you really should watch it.
We'll
like
watch
this year,
it.
we're going to watch it because it's like an iconic Christmas movie now.
Sure.
The thing that I didn't know, now I heard a few years ago that the reason it's on, one of the reasons it's on all the time, is because the copyright expired. The company, whatever it was that owned the copyright, let it lapse. And they did not renew it. And I always thought, man, you know, whoever did that is an idiot. I wonder if they lost their job or whatever. But I just heard 2 days ago that, or maybe I read it, whatever.
Well, you don't read. You can't read.
Yeah,
so
I must have heard it or seen it because that's the only senses I know. I heard that when it actually came out, it was kind of a flop.
Wow.
Like it was not popular or anything. So it didn't gain popularity until I believe it's after the copyright expired. They didn't renew it. All of a sudden, you know, the Roku channel, Pluto TV, all these free services could just put it on whenever they want.
Yeah.
There are people out there that on their YouTube channels, they just have It's a Wonderful Life because they can, because it's what do they call it? The public domain now. It's in the public domain. So
I feel like there are actually a lot of things, movies, songs, books, art. There are a lot of stories of really popular things now that were not, and I can't remember. Maybe it was like, because I've heard similar things about, you know, you're muted. Okay, great. I've heard similar things about, I think maybe Van Gogh, was he wasn't, it's some famous artist, famous now, but during their lives.
He was a famous artist, yeah.
No, but I'm saying, but during their lives, whoever I'm thinking of, during his life, he was poor. None of his art sold. He died a poor man. And then it was after his death. And I think it was Van Gogh. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone correct me.
No, you might be right.
But it was him. And then there was someone else, an author, I don't remember, that I just a couple weeks ago, same thing. I heard this about, that their books did not become popular. And I'm sure this actually happened with a lot of authors.
Yeah.
They didn't become popular until after they died.
That's
and so
depressing.
it's like you don't get to reap any of the benefits of all of your work.
And it's not even the money.
No.
It's like just the validation.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just like
you
people
died
appreciate it.
Thinking that all of your work was just like.
So so this goes back to the episode.
Oh man, no, it doesn't.
About,
anyway,
what happens after you die. But anyway,
validation, because you get to see. But I just realized that my microphone is incorrectly labeled. I need to change it. It was red, and we're not complaining.
Okay.
Today.
Okay.
I was like, why do I feel so aggressive right now? It was the red mic. That's a lovely segue, though, into what we will be talking about today.
Okay.
What we'll be talking about today. And I don't know maybe the best way to phrase this, but it's the episode title's going to give this away anyway. So it's not like I'm doing some big lead up to this.
Let's just say
this has been.
Let's just say it's. This will be my favorite episode.
Okay, and it will, because so what I wanted to talk about is, you obviously, for most of the people that listen to this regularly, we all know that Jim is a big fan of one thing. One thing alone.
Don't say one thing only. I'm a fan of a lot of things.
Well, fine. You could have fooled me. And
Okay.
that is the Frozen franchise.
Right.
Starring
The movie.
Anna and Elsa,
Yeah.
aka
Yeah.
Kristen Bell and
Yeah.
Nadeem I'm just kidding.
I mean,
okay. You didn't even hear my joke.
Tears are starting to come to my eyes
You
already.
didn't
Adeem
even-
Dazelle, I heard
Or
it. I
Adeem,
heard
yeah,
it.
not Nadeem. Anyway, and so, however, that being said, well, can you confirm you love Frozen? Let's start there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I thought maybe we would start because the whole thing here is that you really loved the first movie for reasons that we'll talk about right now.
Right.
But when the second movie came out, I remember that you didn't love it as much as the first one.
Right.
So I thought we could talk about
the difference.
your feelings about since you're the
Okay.
expert
Okay.
in the
Yes,
room
I am
on
the-
this.
Okay, so just to clear it up, I think I saw the second movie. I don't remember how many times I saw the first movie off the top of my
Too
head.
many.
I'd have to think. No, because keep in mind.
Oh wait, my microphone should be blue
I didn't.
in honor of Frozen.
Oh yes, yeah, mine is blue.
Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
yours is the light blue.
I know,
that
this
looks
is the
better.
nice
That's like
one.
Elsa's dress.
Oh, brother.
Okay, so no, your mother and I actually didn't see the first movie, and you keep in mind it came out in
in
theaters.
2013.
Keep in mind, yeah, well, it came out like Thanksgiving, right? That Thanksgiving
Mhm.
weekend, 2013. We didn't see it until I think it was January. I think it was January 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which I mean, right off the bat, and it was still like one of the top movies at that point, right? It was
Mhm.
in the top 10 for I think pretty much the entire time it was out. So I forget if I saw it maybe in theaters then maybe a total of 4 times.
You saw it in theaters 4 times?
Yeah, because I saw it the one time
know.
where it was the 3D. I saw it. Oh, I think at one time we saw it at the Draft House. So that was.
Goodness love the Draft House.
So that was.
I miss the Draft
I know,
House.
I know. So it might have been only 3, but I think I'm gonna. It was 3 or 4, right? The
No.
second movie I saw in theaters
Once.
7 times.
No, you didn't.
I saw it.
This is a lie.
I saw it
this
7
is-
times.
This is a bald-faced lie. And then
No, it's
I'm going to stop you right there so I can explain. the correct look, this is going to be mostly you talking in this episode, so I might as well get something in here.
Go ahead.
It is not
I'll set the microphone
bold-faced.
down and take a rest.
It is it is not bold-faced. That has been accepted over time because people say it so much. The correct and then the origin of the term was bald-faced because it referred whatever, fine. You could look it up. We don't care. Anyway, back to you and
Okay.
seeing Frozen 2 7
All right.
times.
But so here's my point.
It's bald-faced.
I wouldn't have seen it
I can't believe 7 times is insane.
if I wouldn't have. Well, maybe I'm off by 1. Okay, like I think it's 7. It's at least 6.
Okay.
So hold on. Let me make the point before. Okay, I wouldn't have seen it that many times if I didn't like it.
Sure, but I feel like we should start at the beginning, and we'll work our way. We'll work our
Okay.
way there. So when was the first time that you saw Frozen? Then
I told you it was like January
in January.
of
Okay,
2014,
and
the year 2014.
you immediately loved it.
We walked out of here's the funny thing.
Okay.
So your mother and I are there. It was like the middle of a week. It was a Tuesday or Wednesday. So it was a slow day at the theater, right?
Yeah.
There were 2 other groups there, right, of
Mhm.
people. I think there was maybe another couple that was like, like an older couple, not real young,
Mm-hmm.
and another couple people with a couple kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked out and we were all saying we thought it was pretty good,
Right.
you know? And then after we left, I was thinking about it and all. I got home, I started looking stuff up because of the songs
Mm-hmm.
and all that. And then I got into, looking at stuff basically on the internet and all the people that were into it and stuff. And I don't know, just gradually it was just in my head,
The
I just
songs, you mean?
well, the songs, the story, everything about it. Okay,
Okay.
here's my point. I loved everything about it. I love the songs, obviously, but it wasn't just like, oh, the songs are really good. I love this. Just the story. I thought it was so different than typical songs, typical movies. I thought the ending was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I
mean,
cried.
first of all, I'm not one of those people that sits there as I'm watching a movie trying to guess what the plot twist is going to be. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not there saying, let me ruin this movie for myself. So it's not like I wasn't guessing, well, maybe this is going to happen or that's going to happen, right? In my mind, I don't do that. But I thought it was really well done.
Yes.
So unless you were literally there thinking that this was a whodunit kind of thing,
Right.
I thought it was really well
so
done.
there obviously spoilers are going to be in this.
Oh, no.
It's been
Yeah, for
10
the 3
years,
people
11
that
years.
haven't.
I think we should also make it clear that obviously you're a Disney fan in general, so it's not like you went in here not knowing what kind of thing you were getting yourself into.
Right. No.
But I also think, because you're talking about that, like the actual plot itself. So for me, I remember the first time I watched it, and and I never really try to play the, who's the villain here thing.
Yeah, what's the plot twist? Yeah.
Because I don't like ruining movies for myself.
Well, that's my point.
So,
that's my point.
yeah. And so, obviously if it's clear or there's like a little hint here or there, you kind of think to yourself, that's interesting. But I never go into a movie or show with the intention of like figuring out the ending.
Right.
Anyway, whatever. So I remember the first time that I watched it and they introduce Hans, who's the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler. Okay.
Right,
in the first one. They introduce Hans and then he meets Anna and they sing this whole song and everything. For me, since I knew that the whole point of the movie was like the bond between the sisters, that was the focus of it. In my head, I didn't even think for a second he was the villain. I was just thinking, oh, good, they're getting the romance part out of the way so that doesn't, that's not the point of the story is the romance, that it's their bond. And so we're getting this done with so that we can focus on the real story.
Well, and the cool thing was, right, they were kind of intentionally sort of making fun of this love at first sight thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Which is really different. And just to back up a little bit more, so it was like, I think it was a few months earlier or earlier in the year when they came out with the teaser trailer. And your mother and I had gone to see a movie, and I don't remember what the movie was. I'd have to really think about it. But they had the teaser trailer on, during that as in the previews. And at that point, I was like, this looks like it's interesting, right? Now, the teaser trailer, that was the trailer that only showed Olaf and Sven, right? So it was just a silly kind of thing. But I was still like, kind of interested in it. And one of the reasons I was like looking forward to it, and like you said, we always like Disney movies, right? We would typically look forward to them. But I like Tangled.
Yeah.
I thought Tangled was very, not that, and I also liked The Princess and the Frog, right?
I love The Princess and the Frog.
But I thought it just seemed to me like the movie.
Almost there.
But it seemed to me like the movies were getting better again, right? Because like in the early 90s, through most of the 90s, I felt like the movies were really good, right? Then they kind of like dropped off. And then I felt like they were starting to pick up again. And so I was excited about it anyway. And I remember, before we went to see it, looking at basically all the word of mouth stuff, and it was all very positive. And I remember asking Maggie, because she had seen it, right? Your cousin, okay? And she said, they thought it was really good. They liked it. And she like hinted at a plot twist, but she didn't tell me. She didn't give me any clue about what it was. She said, I won't tell you what happens at the end or whatever.
Did you see that coming? Hans being the bad guy?
No.
Okay. Because I felt so stupid because I remember I had watched that movie, I don't know, maybe once or twice with like people that hadn't seen it before. And maybe they were just playing with me and they had heard about the plot twist or they had seen it or whatever. But however many times I'd seen it with people that hadn't seen it, right when he comes in and they're doing the whole song and all that stuff, all of them were like, he's the bad guy. And I was like, what? How would you possibly deduce that?
They
from the
saw
little-
that they thought that right from the beginning.
From right when you introduce him. And
And
that
they-
blew my mind because, and again, not that I go into movies looking for that. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why, because I wasn't looking for like hints at that. I genuinely just thought the first time I saw it, they're just getting this part out of the way.
Right.
And then I just kind of forgot
so
about
here's-
him as a side
And so here's the
character.
question. Does that ruin the movie for people if they immediately know that? Because the one thing I was going to say is, because this is the other thing I like about it, they sort of had a double plot twist, right? Because, okay, even if you didn't think he was technically the bad guy, the villain,
Right.
when Anna's going back, when Kristoff is taking Anna back to the castle
Mm-hmm.
to kiss him,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, okay, she's going to kiss him and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
She's still going to be frozen,
Yeah.
right? And then when Hans is coming back, when Kristoff turns around and comes back to her and she's going out, you're thinking, right? You immediately are thinking that he's going to save her.
Yeah.
So then that's the second plot twist.
Well, yeah, and I think because so you mentioning Kristoff is interesting because now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of like as you're watching it for the first time, you're thinking, okay, they get the love story out of the way, so that's nice. We can focus on the real story. But then you have Anna meet Kristoff, and it's kind of like, okay, well, it's convenient for him to take her up the mountain and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And then as they start having their little moments and all that,
Yeah,
you're like, well, wait a second, though. She just found her true love.
Yeah.
And so I guess in that
And
sense,
she's engaged.
and she's engaged, okay. And then obviously with, Fixer Upper and all of that, then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so this is clearly what we're going with. So then,
Right.
so I feel like once they start hinting at the romance between Kristoff and Anna,
Mhm.
then it's like, well, what are we doing with Hans then?
Right.
Because you can't have Anna. If Hans is just a random side character or
Mhm.
even like a good person, like
Mhm.
as opposed to an evil character,
Mhm.
you wouldn't hurt him by having her like Kristoff. And
Right.
so like there has to be a reason they're hinting at this. So in that sense, I feel like you could put it together that, well, there's something wrong with Hans then because they're not going to have a Disney princess cheat on her fiance.
Well, yeah, he falls in
know?
love with Elsa, and then everything ends happily ever after. Maybe.
Here's what I love. I love, which there's obviously we know the stage show at Hollywood Studios in Florida
Mhm.
where they do the
Mhm.
Frozen
Yeah.
sing along,
yeah.
and they go through the first movie and sing most of the songs except for Fixer Upper, which I think is a big mistake because that's such a good song, and they could at least do
A lot
little
of people
clip.
don't like that song, and I don't
think
love
it's
it or
good.
hate it.
They
I
could
don't
at
get
least
why
do
they
a
don't
little
like
clip.
it. I think
I
it's
don't
cool.
know.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have every other song in the movie except for that one. I think
Right.
that's just annoying. And instead they play Let It Go twice, which I understand because Let It Go.
Right, but still.
I just feel like you obviously have time for
Mhm.
Fixer Upper, so you might as well. But I think that is really funny because like the two hosts, when they're not, sometimes they're over the top and they're like a little annoying.
Yeah.
But most of the time they're really funny and it's really well written and all that stuff. So that's just a little, I don't know.
Yeah.
Plug for
I
that.
thought
I
you
think
were.
that's
I thought
really
you were.
good.
Yeah.
No, because I was
No,
just
you
thinking,
did.
because when you said about the ending about Hans falling in love with
Yeah.
Elsa, like as a joke,
Right.
and I was thinking about how at the end when they're speeding up and they are like finishing the story, and then they say that Olaf saves the day, he kisses Anna and saves her, and then
Yeah,
he
that's
throws
funny.
her
Yeah,
off,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah, that's
he's the
funny.
one that saves
Yeah.
Elsa.
Well, the
and all
funny
that.
thing is,
Are you tearing up?
I'm
I
tearing
feel
up.
like
I always do when I
feel
think
like
about some of this
the
stuff.
listeners need to know that
Wait.
he's tearing up right now. Thank goodness we have tissues.
I have tissues
This
here.
is how much he loves this franchise.
I do.
Well, actually, I guess just the first movie because you don't like the
Well-
second movie, so we should
Okay. So
maybe talk about that.
I know I was thinking, do we move on to the next movie? But I do. And if I get into too much detail, I'll get all. But you know what? In the beginning of the movie, here we go. Just really quickly about the songs. Like, do you
the
want to
first
build a
one?
snowman?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
want to build a snowman? Really good,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I think all the songs are good.
It lays the groundwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very sad situation.
Oh, do you want to build a snowman?
Yeah, because of,
It's
them
so
being
sad.
separated. Hold on. Let me get my.
We can't.
All right, hold
we
on.
can't go song by song here. It's going to take too long. So
I know.
need you to pick
Just
this up.
we'll just really quickly, and then for the first time in forever, it's so cool because of the contrast they do between the two characters, right? Between Anna and Elsa.
Here's what I'm realizing right now. This is way too
Deep.
This is way too
Is it?
You have done so much research.
Oh my God.
on
You don't know. You don't even know.
I know,
I
that
don't
sounds
even
so
like
funny.
writing, and the amount of literal writing that I've done on this between Reddit and Tumblr. Okay. Anyway, so let's go back. Okay.
So the
Bottom line.
contrast next.
Okay. So here's the thing. The key for Frozen, right, was the bond between the two sisters.
focus
That's the
on
bottom
that.
line.
Yep.
Right? The
Yep.
bottom line. Frozen 2, I'll tell you what I liked about what I didn't like
Okay,
about it.
let me because while you say that, because we're still talking about songs, Let It Go is obviously a jam.
Right.
I loved that, and I always felt like it was okay. Really interesting side note, because then people were saying, well, which character are you, Anna or Elsa? Everyone, like my friends, I don't know. I'm not going to say anyone specific, but I just remember like people around me at the time, whenever the conversation would come up, would say, oh, you're definitely Anna. But like in my head, I'm Elsa and I relate so much more with her. And so like I remember listening to Let It Go. I'm crying the first time. The reprise, the first time in forever reprise.
Right.
Anytime I'm singing
great.
that, I'm on the verge of tears, which I think that's arguably the best song anyway. And so I always thought it was super interesting, and I wonder what that says about me as a person, that people were like, you're definitely Anna.
Do you know the funny thing?
I am Elsa.
So this is the funny thing. So many people identify with Elsa.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the story, because of the struggle, I guess you would say, in that. People that are completely different. People that are like night and day, and they identify for different reasons, but it's that internal struggle, right? So that's the cool thing. But anyway, so Frozen 2.
So what did you like about it? Because
Okay.
I imagine you were obviously going. I remember when Frozen 2 was announced, how excited you were.
Oh, yeah.
And so I remember you were probably going into Frozen 2 like with such high hopes and such excitement.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people who were big Frozen fans who didn't want a sequel.
Yeah.
Okay? I was not one of those people. I was like, no.
Give us more.
Yeah. So anyway,
develop these characters.
I was excited. Well, first of all, when they came out with the first trailer, it looked epic. It really did.
Yeah.
And at the time, it set the record for the number of views for a trailer. Like they had the one scene with like Anna with a sword, and they're like all, you know, what's, what was the other thing? Oh, and when they was it during the trailer? Oh yeah, during the trailer when they showed the scene with Kristoff, like, and all the reindeer, and it's like, oh, this is really going to be cool. This is going to be some kind of like an epic battle.
While you're saying that, I think I've only seen the second Frozen maybe twice. I have not seen this a lot. So even you saying that right now, because I also did not like it as much. I really like the songs.
Yeah.
But so you saying that, I kind of don't even remember that scene.
Yeah. See, well, and so here's the thing. So overall, yeah, I like the songs, not quite as much as the ones in Frozen.
Yeah.
But I like the songs definitely. I liked the beginning of the movie. I liked most of the movie, right? Time-wise. I'm just trying to think specifically things in the beginning. I like the overall concept, like some things never change,
oh,
but things change.
I can't listen to that.
Right. So I kind
cry
of
every time I hear that song.
So go ahead. What were you going to say though?
No, I was going to say, and I think you feel the same way, that because obviously the big song from Frozen was Let It Go, and then the big song, or they tried to make the big song from Frozen 2 Into the Unknown, which is a good song. I don't dislike it.
Right.
But in my opinion, Show Yourself should have definitely been the bigger marketed
way better.
song.
It's way better.
Is so much better. I cry like a baby.
Yep.
And obviously part of that is because my mother's dead. So when it brings in the mother
well, yeah,
part,
but I
get
think
really
that's the point. A lot of people do. And I think, they didn't submit.
Yes.
You have to submit songs for best song. So they submitted Into the Unknown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of Show Yourself.
It is unknown to me why they submitted that
Nice.
in place of Show Yourself, because I think Show Yourself would have had a legit shot at winning best song.
When did, if they would have marketed it from the beginning?
And that's one of the reasons they say that they didn't. And I haven't heard this directly from anybody at Disney say this, but people were saying they didn't because that would have been like a spoiler then for the movie, which I don't think it necessarily would have been.
I don't know.
Anyway.
So wait, when did Frozen 2 come out?
2019.
2019. Okay, that checks out. Because then there's also, and again, not to talk about this, and I'm tearing up just thinking about it.
Mhm.
Because there's the song that Anna sings,
Right.
the
With Wolof.
the do the next right
Yep.
thing or whatever.
Yep.
Oh my God, now I'm crying.
Yep. That's
because
rough.
I remember, because that came out and obviously mom had died like, the year before and all of that. And I remember listening to that.
Mhm.
I hate this so much.
I
I
know.
remember listening to that and like that's how I was feeling.
Yep. No, I know.
I have a
Don't do this. Don't do this. Good. You laughed at me. Here, take the box. Take the whole
I don't
box.
need the box. I
Yeah.
just need a tissue. You're gonna need a toothbrush.
No, do you know the funny thing though? Do you know the funny thing? And like I said, here's
Good
the
songs.
point.
Those are good songs.
And I'll get into the things I don't like in a minute.
Yes.
But certain parts of the movie were very well done.
They were
very emotional. I remember one of the 7 times when I went to see it, literally.
That's so crazy.
And the funny thing is, this time at least, most of the people were not like little girls. Most of the people were like teenagers and up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Disney adults.
And at those part, I literally heard people crying.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't like really quiet. It was
sobbing.
Yeah. I was at
Like
least
me.
crying quietly to myself.
Well, you're a man.
I know. And people probably were wondering, why do you need that many napkins for your popcorn?
Have we
It's
had
like
an
buttered
episode
popcorn.
on sexism yet?
What?
No, we haven't.
Okay. No.
Well, that's coming up.
No. So anyway, so no, they're obviously very emotional things. I'll tell you the things that I didn't like. Okay. This is not the number one thing, but it's kind of.
I think I know what you're
there.
going to say.
Well, I know you know one of the things I'm going to say, but first off, the overall theme.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the overall theme was. I don't know how. I hate to say political, but I feel like it was kind of political.
So what was the what
anti-colonialism, right?
Oh, right. Sure.
Like, these, because it really was like kind of like, these white people and the native people, and of course, in the end, the white grandfather was a horrible person, and he killed this, this native person, and they were just completely peaceful, and I was like, to me, it just was so. I didn't like the story. I just didn't, even if I agreed with that theme, I guess you would say, I just don't think it was a good story.
Yeah.
It didn't, there was no, I mean, I guess you could say, well, that was the plot twist. That was the surprising part, but it wasn't a character that really mattered. So I didn't like that.
Yeah.
The second thing, and this is probably, in the end, so if that was the only part, I would have probably still not been thrilled with it. I still wouldn't have liked it anywhere near as much as Frozen, but I'd be like, okay. But I thought the ending of Elsa staying in the forest was just so stupid. It's completely, I mean, you basically are taking one of the key points of Frozen and you're ruining it. And I always think to myself, like, the letter that Anna sends to Elsa, where she's basically saying, I forget exactly how it's worded, but kind of like, we're fine here. Keep looking after the forest.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Keep looking after that is that may be the stupidest single line in a movie I have ever heard. No one has to look after the forest. The forest is fine. No one has to look after it.
Yeah. I think that was definitely my biggest thing when I remember when I watched that movie. That was the thing I was the maddest about, because I felt like my favorite thing in movies and like sequels and stuff is seeing character development, which is why, to go off on a short tangent here, this isn't even a movie, it's the video game series Kingdom Hearts. Sora's character development is negative. You should sit down and you should watch me play these games, or play these games yourself sometime. But it is in my opinion one of the best video game series, but it is ruined by Sora's lack of character development. And so Anyway, so character development is very important to me. And
Yep.
I felt the same way. And I think a lot of people felt the same way, that you see her kind of overcome in the first movie her fears. She obviously learns to control her powers,
Right.
which we should go back to the first movie and talk about how, what's his name? Grandpappy.
Oh,
Is that his name?
Yeah, yep.
Was like, this is what I foresee for you, and fear will be your greatest enemy and all this
yeah.
stuff. And then what do? They make her afraid of herself. Okay. It's just the dumbest thing.
Oh, I know.
All of this could have been
I know,
solved
I know.
had her
But-
parents been good parents. That's neither here nor there.
Right.
So anyway.
So they were
what?
so and just I don't want to get too hung up on that, but the point is the parents were not evil. The parents made a bad decision. Right?
They made a bad decision, but it's frustrating.
It's like,
because-
were you not listening?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because he specifically says,
Yeah.
whatever the line is, fear will be your enemy, or
Mhm.
your, however he says it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, you're a parent. You don't know how to handle this situation. I can for sure tell you that the best thing to do is not to lock her away from her best
Yep.
friend in the whole world and have her terrified that
Well,
she's going to like destroy the
I think
whole
I had made a thing, and somebody else I saw had made one similar to this too, where basically, as Grandpappy's saying this, they're like, "Oh, so you're saying we should lock her away and
Oh,
keep her
yeah.
separate from her?" No,
No, that's not what I said.
And then, that's not what I said at all.
Yeah, I've
You
seen
know?
that one too.
And
it's
it's,
so frustrating. Anyway, but so the character development in the first movie of her getting over that, over her fears, learning to control her powers, it's a whole thing. And like
Right.
being able to take over the kingdom then.
Right.
And then you see the contrast from the beginning where she's terrified and doesn't know. It's a good
Right.
development.
And the people love her.
Yes. I mean, it's crazy.
Squeaky
We
chair.
finish each other's.
Sandwiches.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll see you for part 2 because this one took too long.
All right.
What should I sing next?
Very good.
Let it go. Let it go.
Yep. So we'll let this
Love
episode
is an
go.
open door.
No, save that for the next one. Oh, actually,
Love is
no.
an open door. What were we going to say?
Can I just say something crazy? Can we end this
No.
episode now?
Yes. Why? Whatever. Maybe,
Why am I not
maybe
recording?
this time you could not clear your throat right when. You know what?
You just made me
I-
think. You just made me think.
Didn't.
All right, because all right.
Okay, no, let's back up.
So back-
Okay, so
okay.
here's what happened. First,
Beep, beep, beep,
so stop. That's probably so loud for people if they have like headphones on.
beep,
So what happened was,
beep.
for some reason or another,
Okay.
we weren't talking about old ladies. Whatever. Anyway,
Okay. Oh yeah,
and
the
I
old lady.
found the picture of when I complained in the last airing of Grievances about the lady being too far up and next to the steering wheel.
Like an inch
because I-
away. Her nose was like an
because-
inch away from the steering wheel,
Because
right?
I wanted to verify whether or not she had a TV in the back of her car.
Right, which would make sense.
And I couldn't see that far back. I could
Let's
just
see.
pretty much see the driver's window. But when I found the picture, she was far up, but she wasn't that far up. And so I think maybe I just over-exaggerated and I'm the problem.
You showed me that picture before. She was pretty far up.
No,
I mean,
no.
okay, she wasn't like an inch away, but she was not very far away.
I'm
The airbag would have taken her out
okay.
for sure.